So I want to take a couple minutes, I want to cover this. This is a problem and a scourge. This started with one company and nobody really even realizes that this is happening. So, here's the issue that we have. For a period of about 4 years, there was one company that was literally throwing anything that they could get their hands on inside the amplifier for transistors, and it has completely screwed up the game. From the repair shop side of the street, from our point of view, we have to have interchangeable parts. It's like a 10 ohm resistor has to be a 10 ohm resistor. It has to have 10 ohms worth of resistance and it has to be able to handle so many watts of dissipation. We have to have standards, or otherwise it's going to end up not costing the repair shop any money, but it's going to cost all of you. And you're going to be paying for things like 3 and 4 times, like this poor guy right here. This is a prime example. I'm doing a full-blown YouTube video on this right now, but since I had all the props out to kind of demonstrate this for this amplifier, why we're having to do what we're having to do, I thought I would do a little side video to help illustrate it to everybody, so maybe more people will watch it and understand what's taking place in the industry. This is a post-Carl Arlen time frame, I do believe. I would love to get Carl to sit down and tell me the whole story, but I don't think he ever would, and I really don't think you guys care that much about the switchover time. If you spend enough time inside one of these things, you start figuring out who's doing what, why they're doing it, the quality of the components, and where we're at with parts. And you can see people progress through their layer of builds. I'm the only one that's done since like amp number 1 all the way up to current date, where it's on a video log for everybody to literally go back and look and go, oh, look at how far he's come since he built his first 2-pill like 9-10 years ago or whatever it was. As a repair shop, you see the inside of all of these. And I mean, I see everybody's work. Everything comes here. One of everybody's something comes through here at one point or another, or has, or will. And don't be disillusioned. My stuff's been at other people's shops needing repair. You know, it goes all across the board. Everybody's stuff goes to everybody else's shop to get work done. And there's a lot of little politics that go on. And everybody's got their own little ego-driven points of view, and I think it's hilarious. Because I do my damnedest not to get sucked into it, because I don't care. I'm just here to fix the boxes. But the problem that we're having here is with this. When the Toshibas started to run out and Merit quit giving them away at freaking wholesale prices, that dramatically affected the amp game in a lot of different ways. We had 30 or 40 years of consistent parts. Everything was interchangeable. Like you would get an X-Force, oh, no big deal, it's got Toshibas in it. You pop a Toshiba, you'd be able to drop another Toshiba in the hull. Because they were all the same standard, okay? So as repair shops, this has kind of been a blessing financially for a lot of different things, but it really has screwed over the end customer. And for a hot minute, everybody was focused on, instead of consistency, reliability, and quality of parts, they were focused on the cost. So when you're in business to make amps and you're not in a business to repair them, your only way of having your income revenue stream is to being able to have transistors that make power, right? So what happened was they found this company in China, and they started purchasing these transistors. The transistors weren't necessarily bad, but they were continually making them better. So what happened is we've got this train wreck in the industry that's taking place today. So these are DEI 2879 14.2Qs. This guy here wants to have his amp up-pilled to an 8-pill from a 6-pill, and he also wants to have it repaired. Well, without changing all the transistors in the amp, we cannot do that. This is what the video is all about. So let's set this guy out of the way, and let's go down here. The very first DEI, which was complete garbage, and I mean garbage, was the first one I ever seen. And I'm not saying definitively this is the end of the story, because I'm just saying from my observational standpoint. The first one I ever seen was lot number, and these are all going to be DEI 2879. So I'm going to quit saying DEI 2879. I'm just going to start talking about these digits right here. The 131Q. The first rev of these transistors I seen were 10 and 11s. So instead of 13s, they were 10. And then we've got this gobbledygook that comes after it, this 1Q. See the 1Q here? Okay. I'll slide this right to the edge of the frame. So let's say you're in business to make amps, and you got all these orders because you're doing a thing called name trading. It's real common in today's politics. Well, so-and-so's name is who I've always voted for before, so when I show up at the polls, I'm always going to vote with them. Well, if you go and you buy an established company, like let's say X-Force, just using that as an example, it is a household name. Everybody knows it. Everybody's had an amp or knew somebody that had an amp and it worked great and they had a good time with it, blah, 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 blah. If you buy that company, for a short period of time, you're riding on the shoulders of the people that preceded you at the company. Well, the company was founded on very high quality components. The Toshiba. They can't get the Toshiba anymore. Well, you're still wanting to make money because you just purchased this company. So what do? You put in that amp anything you can and you get them slime line slammed out the door. Well, that's short-sighted, and it kind of screws the customer from the standpoint of, well, if I bought, let's say, 1,000 of these and made 500 2-pills with these transistors, now there's 500 amplifiers that are out there floating in the market that when they break, we cannot repair them without completely overhauling them. So let's say I go back to the guys in China and say, hey, I want a new transistor. I want more of those transistors you just sold me. Great, we'll sell you 1,000, but since then we've made them better, made them more reliable, made them so they don't blow up so easy. Like, you know, at one point if you farted on a DEI transistor, the thing exploded. Oh, that's great. Let's do that. So you've got 1,000 of these out there running around in amplifiers, and now you're buying 1,000 of these and you're going to put them in amplifiers. Okay? 2Q. This is a different rev. That means the internal design is slightly different. The wafer design inside the transistor is slightly different. Do these two parts really intermix? No. Do they somewhat work in the same circuit? Roughly. So if I show up and I've got a 131Q, and the only parts you have access to, because there's no more inventory of the 131Qs left anywhere in the world, I got to go and put 13 2Qs in there. But that means all my 13 1Qs are now worthless. Well, another couple months go by, we got to go buy more transistors. That's the 13 3Q. 13 3Q. So now the 1,000 amplifiers you've made with these two previous runs of the transistor are not interchangeable components. Now, can we go and take a 13 3Q and interlace it with a 13 1Q? I don't know. I've never tried. So we move forward even a little bit further. And, well, you know, the transistor design has changed such a great deal that now we're going to start using the 14 number. Still trying to trade on the 2879 name. Meanwhile, all of these transistors that are in the market, and I'm here to tell you, the 14 1Q might be over here, and there might be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 generations of this transistor, and the first example I have the 14s is here. So there could be 5,000 5,000 plus boxes out there running around that are now completely unsupported and unrepairable. So the game continues on. 14 2Q. And some of these were winners and some of these were complete turds. For 14 2O, not Q, O. I'm telling you, that's an O. Completely different part rev. 14.3Q. So does it not only, you gotta remember there's 12, 11, 10, going all the way out to 9, I can only assume. So it continues on. Now we start getting a little bit further up the food chain, and we're going to make a huge jump. We're going to go and jump right here. We're going to come down to this transistor. Oh, but the saga continues. So we'll go ahead and we'll scroll on down. We're going to take a look at this. This is the 15.1Q. And this is where the rev numbers start to get really weird. I don't have a 15.2Q example to show you, but we can assume that that exists. That's a 15.3Q. And we have this other version here, 15.2T. So, and then we got stuff like this happening even further down. So the 16.1C, and you guys can imagine the frustration of a repair shop trying to stay ahead of all these different transistors that share the exact same part number. So then we have this little device come along into the market called the pp100. I have pp100's, pp80's, pp70's with all different revs on them. Think about that for a second. Let's just let this slowly sink in for just a hot second. This is just a small batch. Now each one of these represents thousands of transistors being produced that are out there running around in amplifiers. In the PP market, we had 3 years of those amps being produced at roughly 1,000 transistors a month being consumed with all different part numbers. And the only person that really understands the PP cross numbers is going to be X-Force. But now if it was me, I'd want to have all exactly the same transistor in my amp. I wouldn't want to have like the pp100 15XH and 3, 16XYs or whatever. I wouldn't want to have them all intermixed because they're all slightly different. They all represent something different. They could be different wafer designs, they could be different purchase lots, they could be all kinds of different things, but the thing is none of us know what that means. And those that know aren't telling. So we fall back to the problem that we're currently having. That's why I've been pushing the 16-08 transistor so hard. It's because it works. It fits into the circuit that we've got. It works very reliably, and we've all become very accustomed to using it. Now, when I try to buy transistors, I try to do it in lots of 100 or more, because I get tired of having to deal with the very small inconsistencies that take place between the 1608s that I bought today, the 1608s I'm going to buy in a month, the 1608s I'm going to buy in another month. Now, don't get this confused. Don't think that X-Force is the only one that was doing this. Everybody was doing this that produces amplifiers, except for me. As this was all going on, I was staying focused on the Toshibas because I knew what I had. We knew the parts that we had, and I didn't care. I wasn't trying to get them at a discounted price. Because remember, I'm a very small little business compared to the big powerhouses in this game. And, Texas Star just follows along with suit. So the guys at RF Parts supply Texas Star. Texas Star buys whatever RF Parts is currently selling. Depending on what RF Parts has got in inventory is what you're going to end up getting in the amp. And we're starting to see this now percolate down to where they can't get the DEI runs anymore, all skidjabillion of them. And so we're going over to the fake 2879. Now, that being said, the fake 2879 is a good part. But what is it? And it not only muddies the water to the point where, like, I can look in here and I can see because of the print, this is a 2879 DEI, okay? And the lot number is kind of cute, but that gives me a clue on what it is. And oh, okay, well, we can't do this, or we could do this, or we could do that. With the fake Toshiba, it completely muddies the water to the point where you can't even see through them anymore. Internally, the structure is different. How they work is slightly different, but they're a great component. They don't intermix with real deal Toshibas. So imagine being a repair shop and you're trying to just produce a couple, like, let's say, strap-on amp boards on the bottom of a radio or something. And you can't go buy the Toshibas anymore from RF Parts, so you start figuring out, well, where else can I get them from? I don't want to go get them from Chinese eBay because that's bad. Well, Chinese eBay, Hong Kong eBay parts are what they are, but they also percolate and they show up in other countries like India, you know, and Europe. It's just a different seller. Same parts, same part number, and they look the same. I need to bring this to your guys' attention because it's getting silly. It's really getting silly. And now you're going to see coming out here in a couple weeks another video I've got going on where North is willing to do whatever we would like for our transistors. It's going to completely obliterate the market. It makes no sense. So this poor feller here wants to upgrade his box and put a couple more transistors in it. But for us to do that, we have to remove all of these different transistors that are in here and replace them with stuff that we have replacements for or currently can get replacements for. Otherwise, there's no point in even doing it. I just want to share this little tidbit of knowledge with you guys, help disseminate it amongst the masses and give you something to think about. This is a nightmare from the repair side of the street. I mean, it's not that bad because, well, unless I know somebody out there that's got 1,000 of this part, 1,000 of the next lot, 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 that we can all have equal access to be able to continue support repairing these devices. So if you're not willing to replace all the transistors in your amp, unless it says HG 2879 1608, 2879C, Toshiba, or something of the same boat on it, we have to replace all the parts. If you pop one of these transistors in any of these revs or versions, we have to replace all the parts. Otherwise, you're pissing in the wind. You might as well just be taking a piss and letting it fly right back in your face. Because the box is going to fail because the components are mismatched. I just wanted to put that out there for everybody to think about. Now I got to run on and I got to actually do the dirty deed of getting this thing ready to go over here. But I thought I would share it with all of you. Gentlemen, my name is BBI, and I'll see ya. Bye.